Hello, my name is Michel. I have published 2 other French courses on Udemy entitled French for You for English Native Speakers and French for You Grammar B1, B2 and Beyond, the latter spoken entirely in French. The course that I present here, French Grammar A1, A2 and more, with 35 video lessons plus exercises on PDF, is the result of my experience as a teacher. All the explanations are in English, and I beg your pardon for the accent and the possible mistakes. I have always favored practical teaching based on the audiovisual association. But it is useless to pretend that grammar doesn't exist. An essential grammar, made more of examples than of rules, is an indispensable basis of learning. The course content is the one defined by the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages for levels A1, A2. The relatively short lessons, around 6-7 minutes each, and the written exercises give you the tools you need to express yourself in a simple but correct way in French. I am looking forward to seeing you in the first lesson. Bye! Hello, welcome to our lesson 6 of the French grammar course A1, A2. In the previous lesson, we talked about the interrogative form, but we limited ourselves to the interrogative form when the subject is a pronoun. You remember the 3 ways. The first one is with the intonation. Il est anglais. Il est anglais is a statement. Il est anglais is a question. Est-ce qu'il est anglais? I use est-ce que. And the third one is through the inversion of the subject. Est-il anglais? Okay. But what happened when the subject is not a pronoun but a noun? The first 2 solutions are the same. So I can say Pierre est français, statement Pierre est français, question Pierre est français, or est-ce que Pierre est français? So I can use the intonation of the voice, and I can use est-ce que. And keep in mind that you will be always able to use est-ce que making questions, whatever kind of question. Open, close, that doesn't matter. You can always use est-ce que. But when the subject is a noun, you cannot put the noun after the verb. It's not possible. What can you do? What you can do is to leave the noun before the verb, and after the verb, you replace the noun by the corresponding subject pronoun. I'll give you an example. Pierre est français. Est-ce que Pierre est français? I want to make the inversion that it's a most elegant form, you know. The interrogative with inversion is more elegant than the other 2 solutions. Pierre est-il français? So what do? I leave Pierre as a subject, and then I take the subject pronoun, 3rd person masculine, il, and I put after the verb. I put it after the verb. And I have Pierre est-il français? Of course, see, instead of Pierre, I am talking about Isabelle. I will do the same. Isabelle est anglaise. That's the statement. Est-ce qu'Isabelle est anglaise? Or Isabelle est-elle anglaise? And that's the way to do it. Okay. If I address somebody and I ask a question and I say, Pierre, est-ce que tu es américain? What can I will do the same thing, but I will change the subject pronoun because the subject pronoun was not referring to Pierre. The subject pronoun was tu. Pierre, est-ce que tu es américain? So I will say, Pierre, es-tu américain? So I replace the noun by the subject pronoun of the verb to be. Pierre, es-tu américain? So it seems complicated, but it's not. You just have to get used to it, and you will see it's not so difficult. Now, let's talk about the negative form. In the negative form, we have to state that there are always two negative terms, two words to make the negative form. One is ne, and the other is generally pas. But pas can be replaced by other negative terms. Let's say I was used to speak English and I forgot completely. I will say je ne parle plus anglais. I don't speak English anymore. So je ne parle plus. One thing you have to be careful, you put two negations, never three. You cannot use three negative terms because if you use three negative terms, the sentence becomes affirmative and not negative. Okay. So, ne et pas. And it's not difficult, so you put. It doesn't matter if the subject is a noun, is a pronoun. It doesn't matter at all. Pierre ne parle pas anglais, il ne parle pas anglais, elle ne parle pas anglais. When the verb is, for instance, au passé composé, that means that you have the auxiliary and the past participle, you put the second term of the negation after the auxiliary. Je n'ai pas mangé ce matin. I haven't eaten this morning. Je n'ai pas mangé ce matin. Pas is after est is the third person, the first person of the verb to have. And that's about it. There is one thing to keep in mind. Very often, it will be for you a little bit difficult to recognize the negative form. Why? Because French very often makes the contraction between je and ne. I should say, je ne suis pas français. But very, very often you will hear je ne suis pas français. So je et ne became one sound. Je ne suis pas français. So you are not supposed to do it. You can do it, of course, but the important for you is to understand when French people use it. And it's 90% of the case they say je ne suis pas français. not only with the verb to be, but with I don't go to London next month. Je ne vais pas à Londres le mois prochain. Je ne vais pas. So you have to get used to this contracted form with the ne of the negative. Let's see a third topic in this lesson. How do we answer a question in French? Let's start by the easiest. The easiest is when you answer negative. You say non. There is one thing you have to be careful. Don't pronounce the N. The sound is non. There is non. There is no N. Vous êtes anglaise? Non. Je ne suis pas anglaise. Vous parlez anglais? Non. Je ne parle pas anglais. So, the answer to a close question, when you answer in the negative form, you start your answer by no. But what happens when you want to say yes? More than 90% of the people think that the answer is always oui. That's not true. Because if I have to answer, Peter asked me, vous êtes français? I will answer, oui, je suis français. Question, and my answer is positive. Oui, je suis français. But if Peter thinks I have a strange accent in French, and he says, vous n'êtes pas français? My answer won't be oui. My answer will be si. S-I. Vous n'êtes pas français? Si, je suis français. John n'est pas américain? Si, il est américain. And I will use si not only to answer a question, but also to make a comment about a negative statement. I will give you an example. Personally, I think John, or Jean, let's use a French name, did not write a very good report. And I will say, je pense que John n'a pas écrit un bon rapport. My opinion is negative. John n'a pas écrit un bon rapport. If Michael, who is sitting next to me, disagree with me, he will say, si, il a écrit un bon rapport. So it's a positive comment to a negative statement. My statement was negative. Il n'a pas écrit un bon rapport. Michel thinks instead that il a écrit un bon rapport. So he will say, si, il a écrit un bon rapport. So, to answer a question, if the question is not negative, you will answer by oui. If the answer contains a negation, you will say si and not oui. And also, if it's not a question, but it's a comment to a negative statement, you will say si. So that's all for today. I'll see you to our next lesson. Goodbye. Welcome to the lesson 9 of our French grammar course A1, A2. The topic of this lesson will be the difference between two very important subject pronouns. I am talking about il or elle on one side and on the other side, se or C apostrophe. You are familiar with the use of il or elle, singular or plural, when the verb to be precedes an adjective. We have given many examples with adjectives of nationalities. And so you are familiar with il est anglais, elle est américaine, il est espagnol, ils sont français, ils sont italiens, and so on. But it would be a mistake to think that the subject pronoun of the third person to the singular or the plural is always il ou elle. When the verb to be is followed by a noun, the subject will never be il or elle. The subject will be se or C apostrophe. It doesn't matter if it is the name, a proper name, the name of a person or not. I will say, it's John, c'est Jacques, c'est Paul, c'est Michel, c'est Catherine, c'est Brigitte. I cannot use il or elle in this case. In the same way, when the verb to be is followed by a name preceded by anything, by an article, but by a possessive adjective or a demonstrative adjective, the subject of the verb to be will be se or C apostrophe. C'est un livre. C'est un professeur d'anglais. C'est un docteur. C'est un avocat. And with the name of professions, it's very easy to understand the difference. If I say, quelle est la profession de Monsieur Dupont? What is Mr. Dupont's profession? I can say, il est avocat. He is a lawyer. Il est médecin. He is a physician. Il est avocat. Il est médecin. In this case, I use the word avocat and médecin as adjectives. But if I say, qui est Monsieur Dupont? Ah, Monsieur Dupont, c'est un très bon avocat. Monsieur Dupont is a very good lawyer. In this case, I cannot use il. I have to use se. In this case, se becomes C apostrophe. The same thing for Monsieur Durand, who is physician. Monsieur Durand, c'est un excellent médecin. I have médecin used as a name, not as an adjective, and I have to use se as a subject. The same to the plural. Who are they? They are my French friends. Qui est-ce? Ce sont mes amis français. I cannot say ils sont. I have to say ce sont. So remember, when the verb to be, the verb être in French, is followed by a name, you have to use se or C apostrophe as the subject. There is an exception to this rule. The exception is when you are talking about the time. What time is it? The answer in French will always be il est. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 10, 8, 16. It doesn't matter. So I say il est 2 heures, il est 3 heures, il est midi, il est minuit. It's midday or midnight. Il est midi, il est minuit. So in this case, even if heure, the word heure is a noun, I will use il and not se or C apostrophe. But I will use ce also in some case before an adjective. For instance, if I say, let's imagine, I love chocolate, and I will say, chocolate is good. Le chocolat, c'est bon. So there is two reasons for that. There is a formal reason because after chocolat, I put a comma or a question mark. Le chocolat c'est bon. Or le chocolat, c'est bon. So I have a pause. But the true reason is because I am talking about the chocolate in general. So I will say, le chocolat, c'est bon. If I love spaghetti, I will use the same subject. I will say, les spaghettis, c'est bon. C'est excellent. Spaghetti is to the plural, but I don't care. I will use ce with the verb to the singular. Instead, if I am talking about something specific, if I talk about spaghetti and I mention the spaghetti made by Madame Rossi, I will say, les spaghettis de Madame Rossi, ils sont bons. Because I am not talking about a category. I am not talking about the spaghetti in general. I am talking about specific spaghetti. Spaghetti made by Mrs. Rossi. You will do the same thing when you are talking about a city, for instance. You can say Paris. Paris, c'est magnifique. Rome. Rome, c'est formidable. Londres. Londres, c'est super. New York. New York, c'est surprenant. So, you are talking about the city in general, and in this case, you will use ce. Even in front of an adjective. You will always put a comma or a question mark before the adjective. Be careful, it's important, and it's easy to make mistakes. So, remember, when to be is followed by a noun, this is the main rule. When to be is followed by a noun, the subject of the verb to be to the singular or the plural will be ce in front of a vowel or a silent H, it will be C apostrophe. So I will meet you in our next lesson, and please remember to do the exercises that you find at the end of the lesson. See you soon. Bye.